Hello. Welcome to WTF Airlines. How can I help you?
Hello. I have a disability and I have questions about accommodations in my flight.
Ma'am, I need you to put a mask on before I can answer any of your questions.
That's actually one of my questions. I am uncomfortable with a mask on and it interferes with my ability to breathe properly.
I still need you to put a mask on.
But I can barely understand you. Would you please take that diaper off of your face so I can communicate with you clearly?
It's for everyone's safety, ma'am.
But there's nobody standing here except for the two of us, and I'm perfectly comfortable with you speaking to me without a mask on.
Ma'am, I really need you to wear a mask before I can help you.
Why? I have already expressed to you that I am comfortable with you speaking to me without a mask on. I do not consider you to be a threat to me, and I am no threat to you. Why do we need to stand here with diapers on our faces to speak to each other? I have a disability that makes it difficult for me to communicate with you with your mouth obstructed and mine as well. Furthermore, it makes me physically uncomfortable to sit for hours with something covering my face.
We require masks to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Ma'am, I need you to put a mask on if we are to continue this conversation.
But I have a disability and it interferes with my ability to communicate and feel safe or comfortable having something obscuring my mouth and affecting my ability to breathe properly. I have expressed this to you from the onset. You have thus far failed to acknowledge a single thing I have said, yet repeatedly insist that I put a diaper on my face.
Ma'am, federal law requires that you wear a mask everywhere in the airport and at all times when on the plane.
That's absurd. How am I supposed to drink my coffee or eat my lunch with this diaper on my face?
We don't serve food or beverages, so you won't have any such occasion.
But I am in first class and this is a 4-hour flight across the country. First class passengers always get complimentary food and beverages. It's one of the reasons I paid 3 times as much for my ticket as for a coach ticket.
We are no longer serving food and beverages in first class.
Then why did I pay 3 times as much for a first class ticket?
Because first class tickets are premium pricing.
Yes, but that is based on the foregone understanding that I receive premium service, which I am not receiving.
Yes, you do still receive premium service.
How?
Because you get to board the plane ahead of everyone else.
I can do that anyway, because I have a disability. It's called pre-boarding, which I was going to ask for when I came to this counter, but you insisted on badgering me about putting this diaper on my face first. Now I am getting agitated, and feel as though I cannot breathe properly, and you still have not addressed my request for any kind of accommodation. Besides, what does boarding the plane first do to command 3 times the ticket price when we all get to the destination at the same time anyway?
First class is still a premium accommodation.
Do I get a cup of coffee?
No.
Do I get lunch?
No.
Do I get any kind of special treatment?
You get to board the plane first.
This is ridiculous. You can't make me wear a diaper on my face for a 4-hour flight with no justification for such a demand.
We have all the justification we need.
What justification is that, precisely?
It's federal law.
May I please see the codified federal law, title, section, and paragraph, that states that I must wear a diaper on my face for the entirety of a 4-hour flight, despite the fact there is no reason to assume that I am a biological threat to anyone else, and that I do not consider anyone else to be a biological threat to me?
I don't have the law, ma'am. You would have to consult with an attorney for that. These laws exist to protect the public and are for your safety.
Protect the public from what and from whom? I do not have coronavirus. I have received both doses of the vaccine 6 weeks ago, and have had a negative COVID-19 test. I am absolutely no threat to anyone, and I have already expressed that I am perfectly willing to accept any risk of exposure to disease by not wearing a mask. I have neither requested nor do I require your protection.
It doesn't matter if you have had the vaccine and/or a negative COVID test. You are still required by federal law to wear a mask everywhere in the airport and at all times during the flight.
So you are saying then that the vaccines are ineffective, and that the COVID tests are inaccurate?
No ma'am. I am not saying that. I am saying that you have to wear a mask at all times while in the airport and on a plane.
But that is irrational and unreasonable.
It's the law.
But you just said you don't actually know the law. Are you such a fucking automaton that you just parrot whatever your leaders tell you to say without thinking it through for yourself? I mean, if the vaccines are ineffective and the COVID tests are inaccurate, then why in the hell are we pushing to get everyone tested and vaccinated? If a face diaper is so damned effective at preventing the spread of COVID, and everyone is required to wear one, then why do we require US citizens to pay for and receive a negative COVID test before they can return home from Mexico or any other country?
That's not true. The US government does not require US citizens to have a negative COVID test to enter the US from a foreign country. That would be unconstitutional. They do require us as the airlines, however, to require you to have a negative COVID test to board the plane.
Then how in the fuck am I supposed to get back from Europe? Swim?
That's not our problem, ma'am.
That must be very easy for you, to stand there and wield all this power over people, with no real rationalization or justification for doing so, other than the auspices of some obscure and non-existent federal law that you can't even quote or cite. The truth is that there is no such law. There may be executive orders, and there may indeed be regulations, but executive orders and regulations do not carry the force of law. You readily admit that you don't really understand such fundamental things that were part of my 6th grade civics class, back in the days when we taught people how to think for themselves instead of rewriting history, making everyone out to be a racist, teaching children what to think, demonizing their parents' generation, and undermining the authority of the home and God and supplanting that with the absolute authority of the state.
Dr. Fauci says that masks.
OMG, you are a mindless fucking automaton. You know nothing of such things, but suddenly you're a fucking expert on R-naughts, virology, and epidemiology, just because you saw one doctor named Fauci on CNN saying it's true, so you believe him? I suppose you believe everything Dr. Ounce says, too?
Let's leave Dr. Oz out of this, okay? He's really quite a wizard.
OMG, you're a fucking idiot.
Ma'am, I need you to tighten that mask up around your nose.
I already can't breathe. Besides, I walked over here through the parking garage, there were people standing outside the doors smoking, and I had to breathe all of that shit in, along with all the automobile exhaust just to get into this building. If you were so concerned about everyone's health and safety, then why don't we ban cigarettes?
Because cigarettes aren't a global pandemic.
WTF? It is well documented that tobacco use is the leading cause of cardiovascular disease in the United States. More people die every year from preventable conditions such as lung cancer, heart attack, stroke, and the complications of diabetes and emphysema, all attributable to tobacco use, than have died from coronavirus.
There is no law against smoking in public, ma'am, and no regulation requires us to provide clean air to breathe in the parking garage. Once inside the airport and on our planes, however, your safety is our foremost concern.
That's my whole fucking point. Your silly policies are meaningless if they are ineffective, and worse yet, they only worsen an already bad situation. The quarantining and restriction of the movement and behavior of healthy people is something completely unprecedented in all of human history. What you are doing is perpetuating a culture of fear among people. We have shut down an entire global economy, casting tens of millions of people into unemployment, poverty, and human indignity. In the past 50 years, human advancement and the perpetuation of free markets have lifted more people out of poverty than in all of human history. We are threatening to destroy all of that in a mere 2 years.
Ma'am, you need to wear another mask.
Excuse me?
Federal law now requires that you wear 2 face coverings.
Why?
To prevent the spread of coronavirus.
WTF? We've been standing here for the past half hour discussing how stupid it is for us to be wearing these diapers on our faces in the first place. I can barely breathe with this thing on. You've made me tighten it and it's crushing my septum, causing my nose to bleed. Now you want me to wear two?
That is correct, ma'am. Federal law requires that you wear two face coverings while in the airport and at all times while on the aircraft.
Where did that come from? I was only required to wear one on my connecting flight into this airport, and as recently as 30 minutes ago you said I was required to wear a face covering, not two.
Yes, ma'am, but the laws have been updated.
WTF? They took 10 years to find Osama bin Laden, the most wanted man in all the world, and now you expect me to believe that in the course of 30 minutes the entire set of codified rules and regulations has been reviewed, passed, disseminated, and distributed and you have been appointed the enforcer?
Federal law requires that you wear two face coverings at all times while in the airport and on the aircraft. These are the rules. You must follow them, or you will be removed from the aircraft and the airport, and may be subject to criminal prosecution.
Criminal prosecution? Really? For asserting my constitutional rights and refusing to wear a face diaper, or two face diapers? Are you kidding me?
No, ma'am, I am completely serious.
Well, those rules are stupid. And you're stupid for buying into them.
Then why are you flying?
Well, since I now apparently also have to justify my reasons for traveling to you, I'm flying home to bury my mother, you insensitive fuckstick.
Then I would suggest that you tighten that mask properly around your nose, or you will be removed from the aircraft.
You people are all fucking idiots. You have destroyed a global economy through a disproportional and ineffectual reaction to a crisis. You continue to perpetuate a culture of fear that does more harm than good. The most vulnerable populations to coronavirus in our society are minorities and the poor. Although people of all socio-economic classes are affected, minorities are disproportionately impacted by all of this due to a lower rate of access to quality healthcare and the fact that unskilled and semi-skilled jobs are disproportionately held by minorities and the impoverished. These are the jobs most adversely affected by these shutdowns, because they are the first to go, and these people are the least equipped in our society to adapt to such changes. As a result, they are at a higher risk for drug abuse, alcoholism, and negative outcomes should they actually contract COVID. You are literally killing minorities with these draconian and ineffective policies and your perpetuation of fear. You have shut down an infrastructure with no plan on how to restart it. As an industry, you have furloughed, laid off, retired, or fired over half of your staff, which includes many highly skilled and difficult to replace resources, such as pilots, mechanics, and other maintenance personnel. The global shutdowns have caused shortages in a host of key supply chains and constituent components that you simply cannot supplant or replace, anything from silicon dioxide to make ceramics, to titanium oxide for paints, detergents that are constituent components of hydraulic fluids that are required for these aircraft and other heavy machinery to function, and palladium, an element ubiquitous in nearly every piece of electronic equipment around the world from light switches to cell phones. All of this is to say nothing of all the avionics computers on one of these airplanes. This is not even to mention all the stuff that is made from these things. For over a year now, you and others have begun to cannibalize your own machinery, airplanes and other vital pieces of equipment, for parts and components to maintain the portion of your fleet that you are operating because you cannot get those replacement parts. What happens when you finally run out of equipment to cannibalize? What happens now that you've lost all of your skilled expertise, and there is no one left to operate or repair the machines they have left behind? I dare say, sir, that if the hopes of humanity are left hung on the brains of the likes of people like you and Dr. Fauci, then the whole world is in a lot of fucking trouble.